right, welcome back to the Berger Bros Podcast, episode 2. Nice to see you guys.
Nice to see you.
How's everything going down in Southern California?
You know, just trying to stay focused when all I see is green candles on Bitcoin.
Yeah, it does change the kind of vibe when you see green candles on the crypto markets.
Yeah, it's been really hard to focus. I got this wandering eye that's just like always looking over here at the chart, but yeah.
Just got the chart up on your screen and then everything else is this little tiny square.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about like this time last year, or not last year, but the last run, and I think it was I guess it was like March last year, or sorry, March in 2020, we were going into a lockdown for COVID. And I remember sending back some texts about Bitcoin at like 5K, and we're just kind of tripping. Everyone was like, scooping up every little Bitcoin they could, every Ethereum. And then a year later, we're just freaking screenshotting our gains. So it's kind of like a crazy moment in time right now where, everything changes, and everything can change in your life over the next 360 days.
Yeah, it's crazy.
At least financially.
Exactly 4 years ago, like this week, was the stock market drop on the 16th of March. So, and that was the drop of Bitcoin, and then from there, from that like depths, from that bottom, began the run to 69,000. And then last week we just hit 69,000 again.
Yeah, it was actually interesting. I remember that flash crash happened and everyone said, like, oh, we would have definitely hit over 100,000 if we didn't have that flash crash, and like there was all this conversation about how that like messed up the whole trajectory of that bull run that we went through. And so now that no one could have expected this, that we hit the all-time highs before the halving. Usually it happens after the halving. Or usually it comes back to, like, generally speaking, I thought like at the halving we would see like, pinging off of the all-time high, but like blasting through all-time highs. It's crazy to see that. So it will be really interesting what happens, whether some people are saying there's still going to be a flash crash, and some people are just saying it's Lambos to the moon all the way through this next bull run. So this will be very interesting. And I think that, obviously the driver of that is the ETF and what that's doing by just sucking up all the liquidity. And now with the halving happening, where there's just going to be even less supply with this ever increasing demand, it'll be really interesting what happens.
Yeah. Well, the volatility will be there for sure. I mean, we saw Bitcoin tap the all-time high and then reject with the $10,000 swing in like an hour. So we've now seen it swing 10,000 each way.
Yeah. But that's like, it makes like it kind of interesting, because then you have like these different entry points that you can find. If you're sitting at watching Bitcoin at 73, chances are of it going back down to 50 are pretty high, before it goes up to 80.
Yeah, I think you're right for sure.
But it's also funny because like it could not. So it's like that perfect thing. I'm just waiting for it to come down, and you're just sitting there a year later waiting, and it never happened, and you missed your entry point and you're crying.
Yeah. That's why you got to just slow roll in. Even if you are waiting, it's like waiting on the sidelines with all your whole bag. You could miss the boat, but if you're just throwing money in, if it goes down, great, you could throw more money in, but you gotta be in the game at least a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you can go throw money into Bitcoin and maybe it goes up 10, maybe it goes up 20%, right?
Yeah.
But if you throw money into altcoins and you hit a couple, you're talking about going 10 or 20x.
Yeah.
So, I think that's where the wealth is going to be generated. It's cool to see Bitcoin moving because we know that that's the leader, kind of brings the market up, and it's like in a high tide rises all ships. But it's actually more interesting once Bitcoin stops moving, because then all those gains go back into the altcoin market. So it's nice to finally get those calls that I got 4 years ago from all my friends being like, hey, when I get my paycheck, can you tell me what coins I should buy? And I think that's an important thing, important opportunity. I was actually talking to one of my best friends today, and he was telling me that he sold off all of his cryptocurrency during the writer's strike because he was broke. He needed to fund his life. He was really broke, but he didn't have the cash flow coming in. And he's like, I'm working on this next job. I'll go reinvest, at the end of the year. I'm like, no. You need to go reinvest right now. He's like, well, I just don't have the cash. I was like, well, you need to go take a loan out then. This is where you actually you just got to YOLO into it, because we know what happens. This isn't like uncharted territory. This is round 3 where it's even bigger and better this year. So it's just not like, a situation where you should be sitting on the sidelines kind of, well, maybe it goes to 0 this year. It's like, maybe it goes to 0 in 2028, but it ain't going to 0 in 2024.
I also think that this time around, it's so different because of like AI and like the gaming sector. 4 years ago, none of that was really, prevalent in the markets. And now you're seeing all these projects emerging that actually have like really, interesting tech, interesting roadmaps, good websites, and they're actually, have a product. And you can see some of these projects are just exploding. And 4 years ago, none of that was even around. There was no future. Wait, were there future trading? I don't think there was future. Or maybe there was, but not nearly as many projects now that you can future trade. It's just there's a whole different landscape now than it was 4 years ago. And even 4 years ago was crazy what some of these projects did. But the crazy thing is, if you didn't take profits at the, as you went up, all that shit, retraced 90%. And that, or more. Yeah. That's what's the crazy thing. It's, you just have to make sure that you're pulling out some cash as it goes. Otherwise,
I remember that. I remember that mentality too, because it was like, I started in 2016 paying attention, 2017 investing, but like I was very timid, I was like, I'll throw $20 here and I'll throw, $50 there, and maybe I'll throw $100 at something. And then, you have these small bags and they go up. Yeah. You're like, wow, I 10x my money, but you only had $20 in there. So it's like, cool, man. You got a couple $100 out of it. And, then you can never go back. I have this one friend, she's been asking me about investing, which has been cool because all through the bear market, I've been kind of pointing in the right direction. Hey, these are the things I'm investing in. And she was very timid. And she was like, oh yeah, I'll throw $100 in and just see how it goes. And I'm like, well, you're going to see how it goes. It's going to go up and you're going to wish that you threw more money in. She's like, well, I'm going to just try it. And then it goes up. And then she's like, oh my God. And it's always the green candles. They're like, I need to buy more. I got to buy more. And you're like, no, it's a green candle. This is when you like relax and you take your profits when it goes up. This isn't when you YOLO into it and wait for it to come down. So, but it's always the same story. You're just like, oh man, I was there at this time, at this price, and I didn't take action. And then there's the people that come in and all look like geniuses. And, somebody that's just threw 10 grand at something and it 10x or 100x, or, like these stupid meme coins that 1000x, it's just crazy. And some people are just willing to take those risks.
Yeah, there's a guy on Twitter that I follow, and he does, calls every couple of days. Every time he finds a gem, he does a call. And then right before you can see the chart, he'll see where he buys, he shoots it up, and then he waits about, 2 hours after he buys it and then announces it. And then it goes up, 1,500%. And he just blows these projects out. And then guarantee he takes his profits there, waits for the thing to come trickling down, and then picks it up again, but down below, and 4X is his bag. So there's definitely a process to it. And I find myself, he announces it and I go look and I'm like, there's just no way I'm going to buy it right now. It's up 1,500%.
Yeah.
But then it just keeps going up. So it's kind of like one of those things where if you have $100, throw 20 at it at the current price. And then if it goes down, pick up more, but at least you got an entry point. I think that's always important, to understand that, like, when you do a trade, every time you put money in, it's a new trade. So it's like, yeah, if you bought it at 3 cents and it went up to 15 cents and then you sold it, it doesn't matter if you buy back at 15 cents because it's a whole new trade with a whole new strategy. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't do that. I'd wait for it to come down. But sometimes you get exited out of a position before you really wanted it to go up, before it went to the price you wanted it to go. So, like you didn't think it was going to go to 10 cents and then it did. And then next thing you know, it's at 20 cents. You're like, shit, I just completely emptied out my bag. And that's also the thing, never to sell your whole bag, sell 20, take those profits and wait for something, put it in something else that's lower, or wait for that, that coin to come down.
Yeah. And also to pay attention to what kind of coin you're investing in, like there's different strategies for different coins. If you're finding some little pump and dump meme coin, that's great. You can go make a 1,500x, but you need to go take all your profits at the 1,500x and get the heck out of there.
Do your own research.
If you're, looking at these blue chip projects, like the Cardanos or the Solanas or the ones that are going to have steady growth and are going to be around for a long time, those are different projects with different strategies that you're going to be taking to be able to invest. So yeah, you got to do your research and you got to know what your strategy is for each one of these coins or tokens, because they're definitely not all the same.
Yeah. That's a great point. I mean, so that kind of is a good segue into, our project Packet. Like what's going to move the needle on Packet over the next, 6 months?
Yeah, well, I think this new, network steward proposal from Masha and Percival is going to be huge. There's been a whole, the community's funny. They want marketing. They want all these things. And, which is, it's not an unreasonable thing to want for it, but it was never really possible because there's always like, hey, who's going to pay for that? And so this new change with the network steward just opens up all those conversations and all these people who have been like hounding us, being like, hey, we want to market. We just want $20,000 a month for it. It's just like, great, go petition, go tell the community, let's go get you the network steward. And you can go and take that position and go and bring a bunch of value. And so all the, I was talking to Jesse about that the other day. It's like all these people that have been hitting us up for $20,000 a month. It's like, great, let's do it. Come on in. Let's go, go tell the community what you want to do and go, take a position and you're going to get paid in Packet and you can figure out, what your strategy is. And if you're so successful at it, then it doesn't matter if you're going to need to liquidate some Packet once you've done your job and made that and brought those buyers in. So it just changes the whole conversation and opens up all these doors and it was always in the vision of Packet is like the network steward was always supposed to fund the growth of the community and the project. And it's been a little hamstrung in the current state. So this new way is just, it's so cool. I'm really jazzed about it.
Yeah. And we've been saying it for a long time, like bring utility to the project. And that's always been kind of nebulous because what's utility? Well, it means that you need to be able to use your coins for something. And so the first way you would think about that is, okay, well, what can I buy? Right. How can I exchange my coins for some sort of value or service or product? And that's for sure a use case. There's no question. But this governance is a use case because it's a proof of stake vote. So you are essentially voting with your coins. It was funny because when they were setting up the wallet to become network steward, they tried to place themselves as a candidate and wrote us and said, yeah, it's not working. And I was like, well, what's the problem besides a couple of mistakes that we could see that they were making and how they were using the packet voter app. But he was like, yeah, I'm trying to place the vote. And it was like, send me a screenshot. He sends a screenshot and it has a 0 balance. You're like, it's proof of stake. Like, you can't vote with a wallet that has no money in it, you know? So
yeah,
you literally can have just one packet, which you can buy for a half a penny or less. And now you could become a candidate, and for a half penny, you can become a candidate and get paid right now 1.6 million packet a week, you know, which is basically 5,400 to 6,500 a week to bring whatever your service or resources to the table. So I think that's a game changer. It really brings real world utility to the project. And one aspect about it that I wasn't expecting was how cool the election page is on the Block Explorer that shows each wallet that's voting and shows like the election literally taking place. It'd actually be cool to bring it up. I don't know if either of you guys have it on your
I
screen.
don't have it up.
Here, I could actually bring it up really quick.
Okay. But it's kind of crazy because, like, you know, the beginning of this project, the network steward actually funded the initial community growth and marketing initiative that like started all the social media channels, built the website, kind of got the first articles written, the first influencers, and that's kind of what the networks, the white paper and translations, and that's what the network steward was supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
But the way that it was set up was so, you know, it just didn't work in the right sense because they were like, oh, well, it can't be considered marketing. It's got to be project growth. But it's like all that shit is friggin' marketing. If you can call it whatever you want to call it, but you know, creating a community and growing social networks and websites, like that's part of marketing. You can't have a project without all those things. You can't market a project without all those things. And so finally, this shit's now set up where anybody can come in and try to be the network steward and use the funds to build whatever they want. So like, you know, Kuzu DR built the platform for people to vote and the front end and all that. And so now the next network steward comes in for the next 30 days. They're going to do their marketing, and we're going to get to see how that actually affects the project growth. It's not just about, you know, coin action and price action. It's about actually building community and growing the project. And so it's just great that it's finally here.
Yeah. So here, bring this up, Jer. Bring this.
Okay. Let me. Okay.
So here's the election. 126 million coins voted, and
that's great.
And you can see, you know, you can like zoom in. You can see this is the leader right here, and then you can see all the different wallets that voted. And you can see some clusters. I think this is Kuzu's wallet.
Yeah, that's Kuzu's wallet, and everyone had voted for him on the last one, so he just directed his vote. And so since everyone is following his vote, they're not going to change it, but they could go reallocate their vote. If maybe he voted for someone they didn't like, they could change their vote to go directly to the leader.
That's so cool because then it makes it so whoever voted for the first network steward doesn't have to go through the process again. Their vote just carries over.
Well, the process is so easy. I was so surprised how easy it was to vote. It was like 2 clicks and you can vote. It was like, wow, that's just like, I was expecting it to be such a pain in the ass. I was like putting it off until the last minute.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wait, it's done?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I did too. I put it off to the last minute, and then I was like, I should probably do this.
Yeah. So this lists all the candidates. And then when you create a new candidacy, then it will list it as a candidate. And then all these green ones are candidates. I think some people may have just done that accidentally. And then this yellow dot is the leader, which you can see there's a couple outside wallets that voted direct. And then you have the cluster, and then you have Caleb's wallet right here. So all these people over here voted for Caleb. And then Caleb allocated his vote to Kuzu, and then Kuzu allocated his vote to Masha, and bang, she's the most likely.
Yeah, I think that's also cool too, that you can just say, hey, I don't have time to vote, but I want to be part of this election. Whoever you vote for, Jesse, I'm gonna just vote for you, and whoever you vote for, that you allocate my coins to you. And so you can get people that can engage that don't have the time to go evaluate all the projects. I think it's going to open up this whole the whole project exponentially, from things that need to get funded, and B, people who want to participate. And so I'm excited about where that's going to take this project, and what's going to get built.
Yeah. The other thing that's cool to think about is like this 126 million coins. This is over $500,000 worth of votes, right? So, but the project has over 4.5 billion or 4.8 billion coins mined. So hypothetically, it'd be great. It'll be a great milestone when this gets over 1 billion. And you really see like, the community involvement, but ideally you'd have a few billion in votes. And really get
a few 100,000 in participating.
Yeah. And the electorate, you'd want, this to be into the thousands, ideally, tens of thousands.
Well, I think that's also should be like a kind of a milestone. And we should talk to Masha about that. Like, getting the community involvement in this is so crucial. And like, I would say the majority of the community is kind of asleep. I'd say there's probably 200 people that are constantly, engaged in the community, working, on certain aspects, whether it's social media, whether it's just, talking trash in the chat or whatever. That needs to, 20x to, getting, 15, 20,000 people doing it. And I think that's going to be like a really cool moment when we can see it on the electoral side. And that will be a good indicator that they've done a good job.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, they're going to be given a shot. They can get reelected every single week, or they have to get reelected every single week. And, the community will give them a month and see how it happens. And Josh was saying, we could bring Belkin in, do a proposal as well, and I just think it's great. That's because everyone, as Josh mentioned, just is constantly asking, the admins for and moderators for money. And now you can just literally say, hey, if you want to do something, like, here's the pathway to get the money. Right. You don't need to ask us, like, you don't need to ask a moderator. You just, here's the path, so
like even like CoinStore is then like in our chat room, like, hey, list on CoinStore. We want to put you on CoinStore. We get like 20 people from that exchange a month. So it'll be interesting. Like, sure, you want to list on CoinStore, go make a petition or a proposal and start campaigning on what it would take to list on CoinStore.
Hey, I mean, that's actually really, really cool. That exchanges could then, put together a proposal to get the money to list on their exchange. Although these exchanges, they want, 50K. So I guess when the value of the coin goes up, those 1.6 million coins could be worth, 50, 60K.
Totally. Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, 1.6 million at 5 cents, you're talking about 60K approximately a week.
Right.
So, or more,
Take-
like
Oh, yeah.
70K, 75K a week, you know? So,
I think when that happens and the amount is that much, we're going to be seeing a lot of people trying to be candidates because everyone's going to be out there trying to get that money.
yeah.
Well, that was
It's
the
gonna
whole
be-
thing. Like when the
Yeah.
coin was a tenth of a penny, and we put in a proposal to go, write the white paper and build the website and do all this stuff. It was nothing. And then when packet was at a half a penny, or was at 5 cents, everyone's like, yeah, that's way too much to pay for a website. You're paying $60,000-$70,000 for a website. It's like, well, wasn't $60,000 or $70,000. It was a couple grand that we were talking about. We just believe enough in the project to go take our payments in packet. And I've been taking my salary in packet for the last year. That's been extremely lucrative since the coin 5x. So I was actually just watching the mayor of Miami. If you remember, 2 years ago, he said that he was going to take all his paycheck in Bitcoin. And for the last 2 years, that guy's taken his entire paycheck in Bitcoin for 2 years. And
well, I just saw that the country of El Salvador, because they were, doing that whole thing about, raising all that money to buy Bitcoin and using that as a national currency, they're poised to be one of the richest countries in the world, based on the rise of Bitcoin. Or that Michael Saylor, dude, like, bro, MicroStrategy is like, fucking guy just, knocked it out of the park. Everyone shit on him. Everyone said he was crazy. And when they said that, he doubled down, tripled down. And now everybody's like, fuck.
Guy took out $600 million loan, just YOLO'd
That's
into
what I was
Bitcoin at 30,000.
I was just thinking like that. If you took out a $50,000 loan, a year ago and put it all on Bitcoin when it was at 15, 20 grand.
It's so obvious now.
Yeah, it's so obvious now. I mean, I was always buying with Bitcoin. Well, before Binance got taken down, which is sad because I stopped my buying, but I was buying $20 a week of Bitcoin every week.
Yeah, I was doing $20 a day.
Yeah, I wasn't doing $20 a day. That was a bit more money than I could afford, but $20 it was a moment right then, it's like you were there, you saw it. It's just like, even like our stepmom was saying, like, she was interested in buying Bitcoin and if she had bought it, then she'd be, almost doubled her money.
Yeah, well, that was crazy. We've been trying to get her to buy it for 4 years, and she was all against it. And then it went up to 50,000, and we were telling her about the ETFs and that she could buy it in her retirement account. She's like, "I'm interested now. I'm gonna go do it." And then she didn't do it. Now it went up to 75 or 73,000. So she could have made a 50% return if she had just bought it a month ago. And
now the mindset is like, oh, it's gone up too much, I can't get it. It'd be a bad investment. The app Acorn. It's like, I don't know if you guys use it, but it takes anytime you use your debit card, it rounds up to the nearest dollar. So if you spend $4.80, it takes that 20 cents and puts it into a little account. When it reaches $5, it deposits into the Acorn account. And then it takes that money and invests it into stocks. Now they allow you to invest it in Bitcoin.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I started doing it again. I had done it and then I needed some cash, so I closed it out. And I've been doing it again. And I've been doing like $20 a week, rounding up to the nearest dollar. And I've been doing like 4x multiplier. So if it's 20 cents, then it's, what's $1.60. And so it's like a little bit more on everything just to kind of accelerate the amount of money that goes in there. And dude, I've been doing it for like 2 months and it's already like $600 in there. It's like crazy, dude. It's like there's so many ways to save, and the best way to do it is when you don't even notice it.
Yeah. It was funny because I was talking to my friend today and I was saying that if you think about investing like it's a big amount of money, it's harder to do because you're thinking, when am I going to have $200, $300, $400, $100 or $4,000? Like, oh, I need to save up. But if you think about it, like you would going out to eat, when you have to go out to eat, you don't think like, I'm just going to skip dinner today because it's, I got to spend 20 or 40 bucks. You just go and spend it and you go out to eat. If you think about it, you're investing in the same way where you're just investing 20 or 30 or 40 bucks at a time and just put that money in, just have it auto deduct from your account. You're not going to miss that money. I mean, some people I do understand are like literally paycheck to paycheck, but then you're putting 10 or 5 or 10 or 20 bucks to the side. But if you just have that like come out of your account, maybe once a month, if you don't have a lot of money, or just every other week, if you have a little bit more, over the course of a year, you'll invest thousands of dollars and you'll really not notice it. And if you invested into crypto in particular, especially with the way that crypto markets move and now being like the most important time to go into it, then you're going to see the potential of that 2, 3, 4xing or more, depending on what you invest in. So it's really, it's like, and I was saying this again, like in 2017, we were all like deer in the headlights. We were just like, whoa, what's this? Like throw some money on Verge and it 10x's and you're just like, whoa, what the heck just happened? And then I remember my Verge went to nothing. Like I never sold it. I treated it like a stock, and I just was like, this is interesting. I'm going to hold on to this for 10 years. Like, no, you needed to sell it.
Yeah.
But Bitcoin's different, but it does oscillate. It goes up and down. So, you do get to make the decision whether you want to write it up and write it down or hold it long term, which isn't a bad decision. Or if you want to take profit and get back into it in a later date, you can make that decision as well. But I think the key is making a decision, making a plan, taking action. And even if you don't have a lot of money, just doing something is better than sitting on the sidelines doing nothing. And you certainly don't want to get in the party in December when you're sitting here right before the thing, right before the rocket takes off,
Well, that's what I was telling our buddy that like, in 2020, 2021, we were just having so much fun, just taking pictures of our bags and just like watching the coin going up. It's going up 50%, 100%. We're just like, just having the ball. And, then during the cold, bear market winter, he had to get rid of all of his crypto. And I'm like, yo, dude, you got to get back in. Now's the time. And he was all skeptic. And I was like, dude, he's like, I don't have any money. I was like, dude, just $100. Put $100 and do some swing trading. There's so many cool projects out there that are going up 20, 30% every day or going down 20, 30%. You could just catch those swings and just sit and watch it. And he did today and he made $300. He's all psyched. And then he's all like, I'm back, baby.
He's like, dude,
it's just like,
he wrote me today. He's all, I still got it.
It's I'm just saying, like, I'm like happy to see you back in the game, brother. It's just like, it's just so fun. Like, and if you do it with like, where you say, hey, it's like going to the craps tables, right? You go to the casino, you're going to bet however much money you're going to bet, whether you win or lose, you're just doing it because it's fun, right? You're not making a career out of it. So if let's say you take $100 and you turn into $1,500, you're psyched. But if you take $100 and you lose $100, oh well. But it's kind of a similar thing. Like take how much, like $100, everybody's got $100. Go put it into a project and sit on it for a month and watch what happens. And I feel like right now there's pretty much close your eyes and pick a coin. Unless it's a shit coin meme, you'll see some, even those ones. Do crazy
I actually have a confession to make. Last night around 1 a.m. I went and threw some money into some meme coins. I did it. I broke down and I was like, look, these meme coins can't be hidden. I went through money into Popcat, Floki, and Bonk and Miro.
And by the way, none of this is financial advice.
None of this is financial advice. I'm probably going to lose all my money on all 4 of those, but I'm probably going to 10x. I mean, everyone's talking about them. I was watching Bitcoin just breaking all-time high, and I'm just like, everyone's just, people are just looking at these meme coins. But you can't, that's not a long-term investment. So you can't just like, oh, I'm going to put it in there. It's the Verge, It's like all that money you put in Verge. It's like that shit's worth zero, literally.
I mean, that happened
actually,
to Jesse.
I just saw Verge is back, and it's and you can future trade it. I just saw it. I was like, I was like XVG. I was like, I recognize this one. I was like, look, I was like, Verge is still here. But yeah, look, I think the key is that all crypto is not the same, and definitely. One thing they are all the same is they're all volatile for sure.
Yeah.
But the longevity of a project is different. And so you could invest at 69. I was thinking about this. Like if you invested at 69, gets the all-time high, and you're thinking this thing's going to break all-time high. It's going to be uncharted territory. This thing's going to go from 69 right to 80, 85. Those people, they got a front row seat to one of the most volatile whiplash market dumps of your whole entire life. Like, when you watch an asset that you just invested into at, let's say you dropped $69,000 and bought one Bitcoin, and all of a sudden you're looking at it, it's at 50, like within 10 minutes.
You're selling that.
You're selling because you're like, this thing's going to zero. And so what happens with this stuff is like, I've been in this now for 7 years. I'm still find myself want to sell when it's dropping. You have to just not freaking sell. Like, don't look at it.
Not look at it. Yeah.
Step away from the computer. Like literally do not press the sell button, because what happens is it dumps, shakes out all the weak players, aka yourself. And then all the major players are like, buy, and they buy your cheap coins that you just took a 20K loss on. And then the price is back at 73 G's now. So you would have been up 10%,
Yeah.
And it's just tough to power through that one because, and Josh, you were saying this to me, I actually forgot about this, but on the traditional markets, if an asset drops by 7%, they just pull the plug on trading on the NASDAQ. So, and this just happened with like a community bank the other day where it just like plummeted and they just like, boom, this asset's not trading anymore today. But with Bitcoin, there's no control because it's not a centralized market, one centralized market. It's
Binance could pull the plug, but but then
there's you saw Coinbase pull the plug. They pulled the plug in the middle of Bitcoin. They basically everyone's account balances went to zero, and they just were like, you're not allowed to trade Bitcoin for a sec. And I mean that's the type of
they did it a few times too. Like, oh, we're having technical difficulties.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you're a Fortune 500. I mean, you're a public company. You're having technical difficulties. No, you're just pulling the plug because you don't know because they didn't want to just let the roof rip off. But the reality is that not all the other exchanges did that, and so, but because it's not centralized around one market, you get the volatility. That, by the way, you would see that exact same volatility on the NASDAQ.
Right.
And on the Dow Jones, if there wasn't, a linchpin that they can pull out when the market drops out from under itself.
And it's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week market too, which
that's the other
the NASDAQ's only trading during the weekdays, during business hours. There ain't no business
and it closes
hours.
And it closes at 5 p.m. or something.
Yeah.
Eastern time.
Right. So it's just a different ball game. And but that's where the wealth's made. And I'll tell you, here's the other thing that I've been seeing is that when the market plummets, I almost hate saying this, but like when the market plummets, it actually means most likely that the market's about to come ripping back to the upside. So you almost like want it to plummet. So it's like,
oh, you want it to plummet and make sure you have USDT sitting on the side to pick up at the bottom.
Buy more.
Yeah.
But also,
I always make that mistake.
You're thinking, okay, now we're gonna go to the upside, but you just have to resist the temptation to liquidate your entire position take a 30% L.
Yeah, I'll never forget. Actually, in 2000, was it 2018? When it hit $19,000 was the all-time high, and I saw this tweet from a guy, and he was like, "I just refinanced my house and put it all on Bitcoin. What do I do? Should I sell?" Everyone's like, "Hodl." But if that guy didn't sell, which he probably did, he would have over 3x'd his money on that at the all-time high. But you would have to weather some uncharted territory where your wife is screaming at you. He probably got a divorce and he's living in his mom's basement. But those Bitcoins, those things are forever. They're just like a diamond. Diamonds are forever. Bitcoins are forever.
Yeah. The other one is that family that sold their house.
Yeah.
And put it all into Bitcoin at $900.
Yeah.
And
not all heroes wear capes.
And they bought 250 or $350,000.
Yeah.
At 900. Not only that, then it went up to whatever, into the 20s. Then it came all the way down in 2018, 2019, and they doubled down.
Yeah.
So that family's got, just if they didn't do the double down, they have like 20 something mil. And if they did what we think they did, more.
Yeah.
So, you just gotta stick with it and just keep on powering through.
Cojones of steel and just
the cool thing, it's like you got this is gonna go for another, year and a half. Right? Because it's usually about a year after the halving, and when it starts coming down, and then it's going to come down, and it's going to go through another year and a half of dark times.
Yeah.
Where you better have sold your bags at least a little bit or a lot, and taken some profits, put it aside, and when it comes down, like that family did, double down and get your freaking Bitcoin bag, so that or Ethereum bag or whatever, or any other altcoins. And, when the market comes back up, it's going to, in 6 years, it's going to be insane.
Yeah.
Everyone's claiming this is going to be insane. Well, what happens in 10 years,
Yeah. The best time to buy was over the last 2 years, in the most recent markets. The best time to buy was over the last 2 years. The next best time to buy is over the next 3 months. Because leading up to this halving and over the halving, these, the prices, these coins are 1000xing or going up 1000%, some of them. But the bull run hasn't even begun. This is like spring where everyone's like waking back up. My Uber driver isn't giving me financial advice yet. Like when that starts happening, that's when it's time to sell. Right now, it's I think I have a wallet with, some Doge in it. Like, let me find out where that key is.
So in the height of the bull run in 2021, I told my wife I was like, you should just buy some Bitcoin. And she bought $200 worth of Bitcoin at 50. And then it came down and she's like, oh, that's gone. I was like, man, you should log into your Coinbase account right now and see what your $200 of Bitcoin is worth. She forgot the password, but we're trying to figure out it's easy to remember,
don't do what Jeremy's wife did, which is forget your password.
But it's funny because we just forgot about it. And I did the same thing. I was like, I have a MetaMask account. I looked in my MetaMask. There was I think last time I looked, there was $5 worth of Ethereum. And I just looked, it's at $100. And it's got other coins in there too. It's got RSR, it's got SXP, it's got, it's got almost $1,000 in there. And I haven't looked at it in 2 years.
Yeah.
That shit happens.
Here, check this out.
I forgot that my
bringing something up.
Yeah, here I'm bringing something up real quick. So check this out.
You know what's crazy is in 2017 when Josh and I we went over to our buddy's house and he was like telling us about cryptocurrencies and showing us how to get into these exchanges and whatnot and like how to buy coins, and because it was way different back then. There was an exchange. I want to say it was called Ether Delta. I don't know if that was, but I had bought. Because I had put like $800 in then, and then it mooned and then crashed, but Ether Delta went under, and all the coins that I had on Ether Delta are gone.
Yeah,
and I guarantee
great lesson.
Probably
but I'm just saying that I guarantee, like if I had put that on a cold wallet or I had done something with it, it would have been worth several $1,000s.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And that is the key thing, is like when it's on an exchange, technically those are not your coins. I mean, they're your coins, but they're in the custody of somebody else. And so that's what we saw happen with FTX. And that's, what we've seen with these other exchanges that have failed, is that there is no, insurance policy for you to get your coins back. So your coins should be in your wallet that you own. Edge Wallet's a great wallet. Trust Wallet.
Does Edge Wallet let you put like altcoins in it?
Yeah, totally. I love Edge. It's like one of my favorite wallets. You should put your coins in those wallets when you're not trading them. And then when it's time to trade them, you can go transfer them to the exchange. But keeping them all on the exchange, there's just a lot more risk. And then obviously there's the risk of where you do what Jeremy's wife did, where you forget your password and stuff. So you need to have a strategy for treasury management and password and seed management. Luckily, you're talking about Coinbase, and most people can get access to their Coinbase. But if you're talking about your seed, think of how many people in Packet are like, oh, hey, I can't remember my password. What is it? And it's like, I don't know. Like you need to write
you forget your seed. Yeah, the seed situation. There's got to be hundreds of millions. Yeah.
At least
so check this out. So here's the cycles. So just so people can see what we're looking at here. So this is the entire life cycle of Bitcoin, and the the green line is the halving. Each one. So there's been 1, 2, 3, and then the fourth halving is happening next month in April. I think it's mid-April, like 13th or 14th.
I think it's on the 18th, right before my birthday.
So what you'll see here is that the halving happens, and then the price goes to an all-time high. So this was the one that happened in.
It goes up and then it comes down, and then it goes up. So it goes crazy up, and then it chills out for
it comes down, and then the halving occurs, and then it zooms up. Then it goes through a winter, and then it goes, and then it heads up towards the halving. Halving occurs, then it goes to an all-time high. Then it does it again, and this is the one that happened last time, where halving occurred, and it zoomed up to an all-time high, which was this 69,000 that happened. I guess we hit 69,000 actually twice in March and then in November, and then cratered. And this was 2022 November was dark. That was the FTX period. That was a dark time. Came all the way down to whatever, like 15,000.
Those were light times for me. I was buying Bitcoin down there, and Solana at $14 for Solana. Whew, that was
that was where you want to be, right here. And then what's really interesting about this cycle is that for the first time, we're right now, you can see right here, we're at just under 73,000 today. And for the first time, Bitcoin has hit the all-time high before the halving. Here's the halving that's going to happen in April.
That's why they're calling it a super cycle.
So this is really interesting that finally, for the first time in the 14-year history of Bitcoin, that the all-time high happened before the halving. So
here's Zoom. We'll see what happens. Can you zoom in on this?
Yeah.
Zoom into like where the dip is. The last dip, Yeah. So what's interesting is a lot of people go even closer in, is people are looking at this, and they're like, wow, it's super volatile. It was up and then it came down and now it's down and well, now it's up. But you're looking at this on like a very like small level. But then when you zoom all the way out, you can see that historically it's all going up, and so it depends on where your focal point is. If you're looking at like the hourly, you're looking at the weekly, you're looking at the yearly, you're looking at the all time, it's a very different perspective. It's really important to look, especially when you're looking at any chart, to know what section of that chart you're looking at and what scale of that chart. If you're going to be trading it right now, you should be looking at the monthly, the daily, the 15-minute, the 5-minute, the 1 minute, and to be able to make decisions based on that. But when you're looking at kind of like, how is my investment done over time? I mean, you can clearly see that this thing's doing nothing but going up, even though there are dips and peaks and valleys throughout the process.
What you also see about this is that every time it dips, it then goes up to a higher level than the previous high. So this was your high right here on December 2013. It dipped all the way down from $1,240. It came down to $200. That's a nasty, 80% drop. People probably unloaded. It came all the way down to $160. And then it went all the way up to $19,000.
Right.
So you were probably crapping your pants right here when you put 1,200 here, and all of a sudden your bag was down at 159. And then if you held on through that dip and just let it go, then you all of a sudden 20x your money.
Right.
And you just had to wait. Basically, what is that? That gap was a 4-year period with a 20x, 3,000% return.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy that where we are today is basically the peak of the bull run last cycle.
Yeah.
So
which is the beginning.
If you think about and so if you go down to see where it was at 2020, the low on 2020, what was the low at 2020? Like 8K? No, 2020.
Oh, 2020. Yeah. This one was that was 3,000.
That was COVID. Yeah, 3,000. So it went from 3,000 to 70. So we're at 70.
Yeah, 3,000 to 70. And so now we're starting at 70.
Right.
Really, you could say we're starting at 15, 16, and they're going to go from 15, 16 would be the low.
Yeah,
and it's
bottom,
going to go.
The dip is of the dip from that bull market is usually the peak of the previous bull market.
Right. So that's actually a great point. So look at this. It lines up perfectly. So 16,000, which was our low of this cycle, was pretty much, within a ballpark of the high of the previous cycle. Right.
Previous two cycles.
And so, yeah. So basically now what you could say is that 70-ish would be the low in 4 years.
Next cycle. Yeah.
Which means that we're going to go up a lot higher. And I was watching some guy on Instagram and he was saying, if you think Bitcoin's going up to a couple 100,000, it's probably going to go up maybe like 85,000. And I'm just like, look, I like being conservative, but there's no world in which Bitcoin only goes up another $10,000 over the next 4 years when it just went up $10,000 last week.
Yeah. And then you got the number one Bitcoin promoter, Peter Schiff, who's, saying that your Bitcoin's worth nothing unless you cashed out, which is funny because they're like, oh, have you cashed out at the all-time high? But what's funny is gold also hit an all-time high, and I'd love to ask him if he cashed out all of his gold at the all-time high of gold.
Yeah.
I
highly doubt it.
So.
Well, it's gonna be a fun run.
Gold. Gold is looking very, very good.
Bullish on gold.
What did they say? They say if the US dollar is like down, Bitcoin's up or something like that. If the US dollar's down and gold is up, then Bitcoin's gonna roar.
Let's see. So here's gold. Gold going back to, I mean, you know,
what is that? The 2000s?
Going back into the 80s.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a good year to buy gold back in the 80s.
That's the weekly chart here. It's actually probably easier to look at the monthly chart, right? So here's would have been cool to get into gold in the 70s around 50 bucks.
Yeah.
And that was a pretty good run. But what's interesting is that gold is right now at the all-time high today.
Yeah.
Like literally today is the all-time high for gold. And I actually bought a bunch of gold at like 17. Now, and I was surprised to see that
cash out. So.
But but then you got and then you got Bitcoin. I mean, you're not trying to sell your gold here just because you're here.
Yeah.
Even though there is a good chance that there will be a correction at some point, but who knows when. And then you got Bitcoin.
There's always a correction.
And here's Bitcoin. That's the weekly chart, monthly chart of Bitcoin.
Couple green candles.
Yep.
One after another.
Funny enough.
Yeah.
This is here's the trend. So like Bitcoin, there's a world in which Bitcoin could come back and touch this line right here, which would bring
50.
it down to, bring it down to 50.
Yeah. It's going to. There's just no question. It has to.
For sure. That's the trend.
It has to.
You can see this trend line's been going for, since 2023. It actually goes way further back, but I track that trend and you can see it just has bounced off this line. It actually went even under the line here. But and then once it crossed back over that line, bang, it just went straight up and never came back to it. So I think we'll see some serious action.
Yeah.
But
you think it's going to come back to come back to 50 before it peaks?
I don't know when. There's no way to know. But you see this line's going up. So, the longer it takes, the higher Bitcoin's going to be. So then the higher the low will end up being. It'll come back around.
It always has to test the levels,
It has to test.
It is testing a level, but it's not testing 50,000. I don't see it going back to 50,000 in this cycle, personally.
It just was there like last week.
Well, no, not quite last week. The last time it was down in that level was, you're right. February the night. Yeah. A month ago.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like,
but that was before it
I'm
tested.
just saying, dude. I'm just saying.
No,
like, we know.
All
right. I'll bet you $100 it comes back down.
Bet me
it'll for sure come back. Yeah.
Bet me
Josh
$100
losing 100.
Not to 50. If it hits 50, you guys heard it here first.
What's the bet?
$100 in packet.
Let's get this
bet.
$100
in packet at whatever price packet's at.
Yeah.
All right. Deal. Actually, how about $100 in packet at today's value?
How about, Josh, you put $100 with a packet in a wallet, and if in the next 4 years it comes down and touches this line, you give the private key to that wallet or send the funds to Jeremy.
Yeah, dude.
Or donate to charity.
Well, a lot further it gets, that it goes to 50,000 in 4 years. I'll take that bet.
No. It's this line. This is the trend line. Is the point? Is like, and you can see it comes down.
Oh,
like
you're
right
saying
here.
that it hits that trend line within the
next so it's like
years?
The longer it takes, it's gonna come back to the trend line 100%.
Sure, that's a no-brainer. I mean, you're talking about after this next cycle that it's gonna go.
No, I'm saying
I'm saying in the next 6 months.
All right.
6 months is a different story. I'll take that bet.
I'll bet you before the end of the year. Yeah, so by August or by September,
it hits $50,000.
It comes back down and hits around 50. Yeah,
this line.
Yeah. Wait, is it the line or is it $50,000?
It's the line. It's got to be the line. 50,000. I mean, who knows if it's going to come back to 50?
I'm telling you,
on
it's
the
never
dot,
going
but
back to 50,000. So that's a bet I'm willing to take. If you wanted to take a trend line that's continuously going up over an extended period of time, I'd have to.
All right. I'll bet you that I'll bet you it comes back to 50 at some point.
All right.
That's a bet I'm willing to take.
I think that's a 50% drop. That's gonna be a big drop.
All right.
Hey, what? And what? From 70 to 19 isn't big.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, this shit goes down, 80% every cycle.
All right, you people heard it here first. Jeremy,
all right,
well, $100 worth of packets.
Here's the one thing that you need to look at
today's price.
Right. So here's the one thing you got to look at is look at this right here. So
it's
this
so overbought.
Yeah, this right here. This right here. This right here. What happens after those highs? Generally you end up seeing a low. Even if it goes up a little higher, you can see it went up even higher, and then by the time it came down right here from that high, which was like 25,000, came back down to 19.
What month is that? That's in
20.
March? No.
2020.
All right, well, we'll see what happens, boy.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
All right, guys. Pull up the packet price
you want to
just so we have this on record, because we got a lot of people that are privy to this bet.
Yeah. All right.
Let's see. So
it's right there. Are you going to go to XC?
All right, 39 on the dot.
All right.
Cool. Game on.
All right.
Looking good.
Let's go. All right, boys. Well, always fun to catch up. We'll end it at 444 on Wednesday, March 13th.
All right. Rock and
Good
roll.
deal.
All right, cool, guys. All right, we'll see you. We'll see you next week.
All right, cool.
All right, boys.
Bye, guys.
Later.